Good evening, everyone. My name is Gyan Pambani, and I am the host of the Entrepreneurship Insights Podcast. This evening, we are here with co-founders of the startup XCredit, Nischay and Surya. Nischay is currently a student at Loyola Marymount University, and Surya is one at Cal Poly. They have just recently founded XCredit and have high hopes of its success in the future. Welcome, Nischay and Surya. It's a pleasure having you both on this podcast this evening.
Thank you. Thank you for the interview.
Yeah, definitely. So, Nischay, I wanted to ask you, can you give us some background into how you got started with entrepreneurship and where are you right now in terms of it?
Sure. Yeah. So, like you said, I do attend LMU, where I'm a double major in film production and finance. I think entrepreneurship really came down from the fact that I've always wanted to run an entertainment firm. And I think really how we got started with XCredit was we were kind of working on some other film projects before. And I'll let Surya go into more about that. He's an excellent guy at scoring music as well as movie tracks. But that's kind of how it kind of all came together. We were working on something that we were very passionate about. And then slowly we kind of moved into something that we saw a much greater need for in the market. So that's really kind of how I got into this entrepreneurship idea, I guess you could say. And like I said, backgrounds in finance and film production, so something that we both really enjoy doing.
So we had another couple of high school friends we would always kind of shoot ideas around with. We've always been kind of like entrepreneurship minded. So we never really felt, we would always come up with all kinds of ideas. And we never really felt like one was worth really pursuing until we really saw this as a really great idea. And also I'm studying industrial engineering in SLO, and a big part of kind of that is just being able to manage a project or being able to execute things on your own. And so it's a really business focused kind of engineering as well, which really steered me kind of in that direction for sure. So.
Oh, that's definitely interesting. You know, choosing a major where you get to practice the business related side of things. Like for you, Nischay, it was filmmaking, and for you, Surya, it was engineering, right? And I guess that maybe helped you get started with exploring XCredit and your interest further through entrepreneurship. That's really nice. So, what first sparked your interest in entrepreneurship, and what specifically made you enter the niche of this credit market?
Well, I think as Surya was saying, entrepreneurship, we've always been very creative in our solutions when it's coming to dealing with problems, whether it might be school problems, career problems, social life, family, whatever it might be. So I think entrepreneurship goes beyond just forming a company and dealing with just the day-to-day issues that we take on. But going on to more of why we entered this market, I think Surya can give a better answer to that one.
Yeah, no, we kind of saw the need, I guess, where a lot of our friends, they'd be using peer-to-peer apps. Like I'm sure a bunch of your friends are using Venmo, Cash App, Zelle, pay your friends back on time. But I almost guarantee if you go up to half of them and ask them, how does FICO work or how do you build credit? They won't have really a clue. Where the idea here comes in is, look, you're paying people back promptly and reliability. So that's kind of a measure of creditworthiness, right? And that was kind of the big revelation that we had that, okay, something needs to be done about this kind of disconnect in the market there.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, yeah. So people are using these services like PayPal and Venmo, but they don't really understand the backhand side of it, and they don't understand, hey, what's really important in the real world is not just to pay, or is not just what happens in front of you, in front of your screen. Building your credit is more important, right? And you mentioned a peer-to-peer interface. Would you mind going deeper into that?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, it's a pretty simple concept of like peer-to-peer payments, which is just kind of, if you were to set up an account through us, right, then technically you wouldn't be opening up a new bank account. It would be done all through our app. So this is kind of this is kind of what fintechs are taking over, where banks have been not doing as well, right? So you would create an account through this, and there'd be a social media groups aspect. You can pay other people quickly and reliability, whereas in the past you'd be having to do it through cash, right? So I guess that's the simple kind of breakdown of peer-to-peer.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. So it's like a one-stop shop for everything, for giving money, for building credit. And you said that the user doesn't actually create an account, you do it for them. And it's really innovative, how you found uh, a gap in the market and you proceeded to find a solution for that. And I feel like entrepreneurship helped you pursue a solution in this credit market, I'm sure. So, what is okay? Sorry. So, have you generated funding for your company yet? And if you have, can you describe the process? Because in the field of entrepreneurship or in the field of just founding startups, it's really hard to generate funding, right? And I think I read somewhere that 0.05% of actual startups generate funding and are able to go through with that. So if you may have, how did you generate funding?
Yeah. So, obviously, like you said, I'm sure that statistic is very accurate. It is very difficult in this industry to raise funds. But at the same time, it's not impossible, right? I think a lot of people think because the numbers are against you, they maybe shy away from different opportunities, which I think should be the exact opposite of what you should be doing. And in terms of X credit for us, a lot of what we did was really just Surya and I's earnings or internship money or tutoring and just funneling all that back into the company at this point. We haven't raised a series or seed round yet, but we're looking to do that. We're looking to put into a lot of incubators and different accelerators, and we just applied to YC. And we're looking for smart money, really. Not just investors who have capital to back us, but also investors that are able to position us in a better place than we are today. So to answer your question head on, like I said, we're looking to raise capital as we speak, and we're looking for investors that can really position us in a really stronger place in the fintech world.
Yeah, that's awesome. How you're looking not for just regular funding, but for smart money. How these investors are able to put you in a better place, like you said, and to help you grow, not just handing you a stack of cash and say, okay, do whatever you want. But I feel like there's more to that. Like on the top of my head, I can think, okay, opening you up to new connections so you can build more, so you can build more funding, or presenting you to a possible target market, right? So what is your target market right now, right? Because credit can apply to literally anyone, right? Me as I can also start building up credit here and there. So who are you targeting with this? Like, what is X credit geared towards?
Demographic.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think it's like you said, it can really target everyone, and that's what we're going for. I guess in the grand scheme of things, we're looking for people that are really between the ages of 18 to 25, right? Youngsters who don't understand credit, like Surya was talking about earlier. A lot of friends we talk to, they don't really understand how these apps work and how the credit score works and how you measure credit worthiness. And so that's what we're really going forward, is making sure that everyone understands it as they're coming out and getting credit cards, as they're going to college, as they're learning how the financial industry works, because a lot of people go through high school learning algebra, calculus, but really don't have any financial literacy. And that's something that we really strive for with X Credit, is teaching you that and how to properly build a sustainable credit worthiness network.
I'll kind of add on top of that, like, sure, that's the grand scheme of things. Obviously, any startup wants to take over the entire market, right? But just kind of breaking it down, like credit invisibility itself, right? It's a huge problem in America, right? And you can see that in a lot of immigrant markets as well as lower income college students, right? So those are kind of the two main networks that we're going to be focusing on kind of out the gate in order to kind of build a network, right? So with any application that relies on network effects, you want to try to leverage existing networks that could really benefit from your service, right? And that way you get really fast adoption rates, and you're able to prove your business case as fast as possible. So by focusing on these markets, we're then going to be able to expand from there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's honestly very insightful that you have a specific target market that you want to give your services towards, right? The 18 to 25 range, and like you said, there's a severe lack of financial literacy in the newer generation because these fundamentals like algebra and calculus aren't going to teach you how to build your credit, right? Aren't going to teach you, hey, what is that 700 or what does that 200 mean on my score, right? And again, I just keep on getting stuck at this because it's such an innovative idea, that providing a service that allows young people to get ready for the real world, because I don't see the traditional system changing very much in the next 20 or 30 years, right? And that's important because we need to learn how to adapt, or like newer generations need to learn how to adapt to the traditional ways, even though they might not want to. So again, really innovative and insightful. And you said building a network. So would you mind going into detail on how might that look like for a consumer, and how might that look like for you guys, right? So what's the importance of building a network, especially as a startup founder, and what's the importance of a consumer using X Credit?
Right. So, I mean, there are a lot of different types of business models, right, that startups are going to. Maybe you're a software as a service type company, or you're providing some kind of subscription model, right? But our kind of engine of growth is going to be something that's relying on network effects, which is basically any kind of social media or anything where you need to have other people on that network, a marketplace or something like that, right? It's the value of the product comes from other people using the product, right? So it's a chicken and egg situation. And so the real value exactly is like derived from me being able to pay other people through the app, right? Yeah. And build credit together by using the app itself. So that's where you need to really be strategic about what existing networks you can leverage, I would say. Anything to add?
I think Surya hit it right on the nail with that, and kind of creating that network itself.
Yeah, definitely. Your idea is to build credit together, and I feel like in a generation in a time that we're all alone or we drift farther apart because of social media, this brings peers and friends together, right? And so there are also other credit companies that offer a similar service. Like there's Frich, and there's Apple as well with their new family credit building business model. So does that competition scare you guys, and how do you adapt to deal with that?
Sure. I think, I personally think competition is good, right? I mean, the fact that they're innovating and we're innovating, I think that's a win-win for the consumers, right? Because they're going to get the best product. Obviously, Apple is scary because we're pretty much nothing in front of those tech giants. But for us, I think the model we're going for and the customers we're going for is going to be very different, right? The kind of recognition and brand image we're putting out there is really for those kids starting off in the beginning, like high schoolers and going to college and so on and so forth. And we're trying to innovate where it's a one-stop shop financially, right? Apple has a different sort of model, right? They're trying to reach into different places with, first thing off in tech, and now they're going to the finance world with the Apple Card. While our main thing right now would be to stay in the finance world. And it's like you said, a one-stop shop, whether we're going to offer you crypto, stocks, right? Or be able to give you a sort of line of credit. We want to make sure we hold you on our platform. And what we're doing is a little bit different than Apple and these other competitors, because we are creating our own sort of credit scoring system, which is different from the Vantage Score or FICO. Now, obviously, I'm sure there'll be more competition that does come up, as we go on and as other people see us. But I truly think that competition only helps the consumers and me as a consumer as well. I mean, I think both Surya and I would definitely use the app. So when we see other competition out there, it makes us think, okay, how can we make this better and change it? So I think competition is good and it only makes the consumers happier.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes there's that perfect amount of competition that makes you uh, push yourself and push the company forward and make it what you want and basically adapt to your competition, right? So say if they're doing something, maybe doing a little bit of that and also showing consumers that, hey, there's also this, and always striving for that unique point is really important in entrepreneurship because it helps you stand out. It's that cream of that crop, if you know what I mean, right? So you said that you want to hold the consumers, or you want to make sure your consumers stay with your service. And so, how did you market X Credit? And how did you use social medias and other platforms to get your word out, get your business out there?
Right. Yeah. So we're actually like just beginning to start kind of the marketing effort as we're kind of wrapping up the development and kind of beta stage there. So we're beginning to sort of just go through social media marketing. We're beginning to make accounts for everything, as well as kind of going to be putting out some press releases and things of that nature. Anything to add for that?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I said earlier, Surya and I truly understand why this app is needed, right? I mean, the whole reason I think we even have this app running is because it's something that we would use. And a lot of the friends we've talked to, or people that graduated, are all telling us, man, I wish I had this app when I was in college so I could build that credit going forward. So I think marketing for us really comes down to why would people like us use it and why would other customers that are around our same age group use it? So it really is kind of a grassroots technique at this point. And like Surya said, going through the social media route and just kind of pushing it down that avenue.
Yeah, definitely. Like social media is such a big platform, and you can really do anything from there. You can go from 0 to 1,000 to maybe 1,000,000, right? And so you stress a little bit about demand valuation, asking your friends like, hey, would you use this? And you ask yourselves, right? And I feel like that's really important, especially in entrepreneurship, because sometimes your target market audience isn't going to be as supportive, and you need to focus inside and I guess become confident that way. Like, hey, would I use the software that I'm developing? And that your purpose really matters, and that purpose has kept you going. That purpose has kept you growing, or has made you grow from the competition rather than shy away from it. And so that's really insightful. So where do you see X Credit in maybe a few years? Where do you see yourselves as entrepreneurs in this entrepreneurship field?
Yeah, so I mean, we're doing all we can to kind of learn more about business and kind of become better entrepreneurs. So I mean, starting a company is one thing, but running a company is a completely different ballgame, right? So we're doing all we can to kind of take the right courses and learn what we need to learn. And obviously, part of that is just online. Part of it is going through our colleges. Part of it's also just working on our company, right? So all three of those things kind of go hand in hand. And to answer like where we see it going, it's really hard to say in a startup where exactly it's going to go in like the next year or two. But the main thing for us is we're going to control what we can, and we want to create a good brand. We want to create a good product that people enjoy. So,
yeah, I think to add on to Surya's point, it's like you said, we want to control what we can and build a good product, right? I think a lot of entrepreneurs will say, let's go IPO, let's get bought out real quick. But at the end of the day, we want to help people like us, right? College students who really need help building their credit and understanding financial literacy. So I think that's really the home point at this time.
Yeah, definitely. So even though you may not have visions for the future, you know really what you want to accomplish. And by having that purpose, you make your dreams, or you make whatever is inside your brain closer to the reality that you envision, right? So, and that's really important, right? By designing your own product, by controlling your own product. And you said, and Surya, you said running a startup is different. It's way different than actually starting it, right? And I guess many business owners can relate to this, because you have to, it's one thing to say, I have this business, right? I have this vision, right? But really, you have to ask yourself, what are you doing about it, right? And that's really important. So, what is your advice for teens thinking about entering this entrepreneurship field and just founding a startup of their own?
Sure. I think don't look at the odds against you and shy away from it, right? A lot of people are going to say startups are insanely hard to do. A lot of people are going to say it's really hard. Focus on this, focus on that, right? Try to do something that's more stable, right? I feel like that the word that we hear a lot. But if you really believe in your product, go for it and find yourself a good partner or team. I got lucky to have Surya here, who's very instrumental in this process. So I think that's really what it comes down to, because a one-man team is never going to work. I shouldn't say it like that, but you do need people who you can support on, not just for the company, but with the company there comes a lot of stress, right? Sometimes when you're dealing with multiple things, you need not just a co-founder, but also a friend. So having a good support system is really the main thing, and having a support system that believes in you, because when you're having the really high highs, everyone's there. I'm sure everyone wants to be at the parties, everyone wants to be with you and talk with you, but it's during those lows that it really matters. And just going for it, having a good time, and knowing that you only live for that many years. So making sure that you can do whatever you want, and not just follow what society wants you to do.
I guess adding on to that is just really make sure that what you're doing, you can create kind of a path out for yourself, or kind of have some idea of the logic of how you could really, create a successful business off of it. Because we find, like, so many times when we're talking to, about other ideas, or just like, okay, that was a cool idea we had, but we haven't put enough thought into it to where we could see it really going somewhere, or really having the right resources to do it, right? So really spending that time and effort at the beginning, especially, I think we would spend 12-hour days just talking, like, what are different avenues this could go down, right? And so a lot of the work that's coming out now is really a result of all that thinking that we had done at the beginning. And so that was a huge point. And having someone like Nischay that's really great to bounce ideas off of is very, very helpful. So, yeah.
That was really insightful. You said that my takeaway is that you need to have a strong purpose with whatever you're doing, right? And you don't one man team cannot, or you can't be a one-man band, right? You need to have a friend or a co-founder or someone who you can rely on, right? And you stressed again the importance of a strong network, right? For you to find that friend who you want to pursue your dreams or pursue your interests with, right? And Nischay, you said that you don't always need to conform to what society wants you to do, and right now we're all after that. Okay, stable job. Okay, this is guaranteed. Health insurance is guaranteed. Life insurance is guaranteed. But okay, that's all good. But are you enjoying what you're doing, right? And I read a quote that said that burnout happens not because you're working long hours. It's because what you're doing, you think it has no meaning, right? And finding that meaning, I feel like for you guys was really important, right? And also you said that learning, right? And learning and applying, right? So you have your college, you have your education, you're learning a variety of things from that, and you're actually getting to apply it in your X credit business. So again, really insightful. I love that. Thank you. So what advice would you give to what advice would you give to teens on how to properly stand out, right? Like, you stood out by having that unique purpose. Purpose. So what is your advice for teens maybe thinking of entering that field and how to stand out in an ever competitive market?
So I think I mean, it really matters on what you're doing, right? Each field, each startup, or each concept that you're going to do is vastly different from everyone else, right? You can't compare yourself to other companies, right? You can't say, oh, is my story going to be like Apple or Facebook or Google or something like that? It never works like that. Every company's different. Every company's going to have a different story, and I think it's just finding what you believe in and just pushing forward. The first option is never going to work. You're going to have to go through plan B, C, D, E, F, probably till Z, to find which is the best road to go down. And once you find it, and once you have that passion, I think everything else kind of just falls into place. And I know that kind of sounds like a cliche answer, but that's kind of the best way to put it right now. It's just making sure you have that passion, because when the dark days come, you want to make sure you keep grinding through it. Excuse me.
Definitely. I'll just add, like, having the right mindset about it as a teen entrepreneur is probably going to be the biggest asset that you can have, because many startups don't have that level of professionalism, and something that comes with being very disciplined about how you run your company, I think can go a long way just for teens in general. But yeah, echoing everything Nischay said.
Yeah, definitely. Like, so having that proper mindset, uh, I guess, fire in you, like fire in quotation marks, right? That something that keeps you up at night and something that keeps you pushing at your goals, pushing at your dreams. And I've talked to 6 other entrepreneurs before, and this thought that, hey, your mindset, your real goal really matters, because that's the only thing that's going to stick beside you when you when you pursue your interests. And that's honestly amazing, that that despite pursuing different interests, right, real estate, cybersecurity, filmmaking, credit, but it's that main thing, that having that urge inside you to make society, I guess, better. So, which leads into my next question. What is your purpose? Like, what do you really want from this company? What do you want to achieve, right? For some, it's an impact. For some, it's recognition. What do you really want to do with this? What people see business and entrepreneurship as a vehicle to get to their goals or to achieve their goals. So, what is your goal in the end?
So I guess our main priority with this, right? Of course, everybody wants to make money, right? But basically, we want to create a brand that is going to help out the average person, right? Because we're coming from average families, we're both first generation Indian Americans, so we kind of see that the struggles that people have to go through, especially in the space that we're entering. So we want to create that brand that people can turn to. So that's kind of the major goal, is just solving real problems that people have. Should always be, I think, the first goal that you have. Because anyone can create a startup, but a startup that really helps people, that's something really to be proud of.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, definitely. That making a startup that provides a true solution to a big problem, I guess, is really important. And you said that you're proud of it, right? You're proud of your work at X Credit, because since you're first generation Indian Americans, you may know a struggle, or you may know a few struggles. And I guess for entrepreneurship, realizing that struggle and seeking to get rid of that struggle and making I guess the world you live in a better place, because that struggle doesn't exist. And that's really important. And so my last question is, what advice do you have for students about using their time, their opportunities, and their relationships to pursue their interests, whatever they're interested in?
Yeah, I think it's really very simple that you should do what you want. And even though that sounds simple, I don't think most people do it in the current age. Everybody wants to act like they have a different purpose on social media, and everybody wants to get a job because, like you said, they want health insurance, that insurance, this insurance. And then people want to please their friends, their family, and different people. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's who are you living for, really? You have a wealth of resources out there, especially in this country, and you should be, very grateful to have that. So do what you want. This is the land of the dreams, and if you're not pursuing what you love, then what's the point? So that's really, my take on it. But yeah,
Couldn't have said it better.
Yeah, definitely. Like we all couldn't have said it better, right? Because truly, that is what entrepreneurship is at its root. Like okay, you're living in America, right? The land of the dreams. Many people would practically die to come here, right? Because of the freedom you'd get. But like you said, Nischay, like who are you really working for, right? And I feel like sometimes in the corporate world, people are just working their life away and making their boss richer or making their boss's boss richer. So if you really want that, then that's completely fine. But in this age, people are after what they really need rather than what they want, and sometimes because of the amount of pressure you have, that's completely fine. But since you have less liabilities, since you have less on your plate, you're able to really pursue your dreams, and that in itself is really an amazing opportunity, right? So with that, I'd like to conclude our interview and basically just give my biggest takeaways. So you discussed how having a purpose really matters, right? Especially in entrepreneurship, where there's really nothing to guide you. And in a way, you have to pave your own path and not walk the path of the corporate world or walk the path of whatever society wants you to walk, right? And that's really important. And not just paving that path, but having a specific goal in mind. Like you can't just pave a path to east or west or north or south. You have to have that specific goal, and you clearly have that with giving the opportunity of building a strong credit to adolescents, to 18 to 25-year-olds who don't have who have no idea of what's in it for them in the real world, right? And that's really important. You have a problem, you sought out a problem, you found a solution for it, and what really matters is that you're doing something every single day, no matter it's baby steps or big steps. You're pushing yourself to make the world a better place. And with that, I'd like to thank you, Nischay, thank you, Surya, for giving me for giving me and giving us this great opportunity, for getting insight into into X credit and into your goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan.
Yeah.
No, really.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Yeah.
we can get one of these calls running again once we get a little bit further down the process. So
Yeah.
we're excited to talk again.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love that. Thank you. Good night.